Today, I'm sitting with Yolanda Joy, an herbalist who appreciates what the world has to offer in the way of plants and wellness, and continues to learn more from Mother Nature each day. After graduating with a Bachelor of Pharmacy in Australia, she moved to a tiny mountain town in Tuscany, Italy. It was there that she deepened her knowledge and experience in a natural approach to support health with the flora that was readily available in the forest surrounding her home. Yolanda is the founder of the Herbal Circle community and the host of the annual Herbal Entrepreneur Conference. She's committed to sharing her passion for herbalism with others so that more people can connect to the power of plants and live a more fulfilling life. All right, thank you, Yolanda, for joining us on the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to come on today.
Yes, I must say I really enjoyed your Herbal Entrepreneur Conference last year. I felt like, it was the first of its kind. I saw folks in the herbal industry that were doing a variety of different things that I didn't know of before. So it was really educational, eye-opening, inspirational. I took a lot of notes. So I really appreciate you for putting that together. I know you have a conference coming up soon, so we'll talk about that later in the show. But I just wanted to give you kudos and shout outs for that because you're the only one that I know doing that, actually creating a summit to bring all of the, herbal practitioners and professionals together in this way. So you have
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing it.
yeah, you have a background in pharmacy, which I thought was really interesting. How, you went to school for pharmacy and now you're into herbalism, which kind of seems like a leap. So first I want to understand, like, why did you choose to major in pharmacy?
Yeah, well, because they do sound like pretty different, like pharmacy and herbalism sound different. But for me, it's actually the core is quite similar because, like you say, the reason I decided to study pharmacy was for two reasons. Like one, I liked chemistry at school; it was my favorite subject, and two, I wanted to help people. So I thought putting the two together, I could help people with my love of chemistry by understanding how the drugs work and the body side of things and stuff like that. But the as I went through, I think like my what I wanted to do and what I was able to do within pharmacy, there was a bit of conflict there, and that's where it kind of progressed a little bit, I guess you could say. So like I found it was very linear, the studying of pharmacy, in terms of like, if this happens, do this, and all of these rules, which they need to be there. They need to be we need to have those rules in medical professions for to back up why we say something. Like you need to have a reason why you recommend something for like legal stuff. But I just found it wasn't enough personalized, and there's so much more you can do with that, which kind of brought me in a little bit to the natural side of things. But yeah, I think we'll get into that later on. But it was to do with moving around the world and different experiences as well when I really got more interested in herbalism.
I see. So you didn't really come from like a naturopathic family. If pharma drugs was like okay, and that was going to be your career. Is that kind of like
Yeah,
the
well,
mindset?
basically, I grew up in a pretty standard family. My dad was a farmer and my mum was a teacher, but stay at
Mm-hmm.
home while we were growing up. I was one of five children, and um, the then yeah, like I studied pharmacy to become a pharmacist. I think
Mm-hmm.
the main turning point for me really was of deviating off the normal path, I guess, was meeting my husband, who was is Italian, and he didn't really enjoy living in Australia that much. So
Mm-hmm.
we decided to try out some different places. We lived in China for around 5 months while he was studying there, and we ended up moving to Italy
Mm-hmm.
and living here. And this was just after I graduated in pharmacy, and I like had all the theory, and yeah, all of my friends went to start their normal career as a pharmacist. So that was like definitely the plan, was to become a pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
But then coming to Italy, my degree wasn't actually recognized, and I couldn't just start working as a pharmacist, also because of the
Mm-hmm.
language barrier, but I couldn't. So I was kind of like, what do I do? What can I, how can I make the most of the skills that I do have. And so what I ended up doing was I started a blog around how medicines work. And that was mainly just to keep my knowledge up and keep on going, so that if I ever wanted to get a job as a pharmacist again in the future, I could. That was like the reasoning behind it. But as I did it, I was really enjoying the theory of how stuff works, and because the website was all around medicines and how they work. And eventually it started ranking in Google, and a lot of people started seeing my content and were asking questions about how they can find natural methods of instead of using medications. So as an example, I wrote a lot of blog posts about blood pressure medications. And so there's this, I just explained how they work in easy terms, because that is something that I do enjoy doing. And so people were reading me my articles around how it works. And then basically most of these people didn't want to be taking the medications, and that's why they were asking these questions. And so then they found my blog post and were just asking them, are there natural ways? Are there ways to naturally control blood pressure? And that got me thinking. And then there was like several other things as well. Like it was a gradual progression as I moved into like that more, like people wanted to know it. And then I started researching, and then the interest kind of peaked for me.
I see.
But like the huge big difference for me was actually moving to the town where I live now. And because both my husband and I didn't have like in-person jobs, and so we moved to a tiny town about an hour out of Florence in Italy. And that was a huge turning point for me in terms of, I just love this town. The plants just really started to speak to me, and I wanted to learn about how they work and how you can use them, and more about them. Like for me, it was just really different coming from Australia, where at least where I grew up in Australia, it's very dry and barren, kind of like the plants there. And coming here and just seeing like yarrow and St. John's wort and elder and all of these plants is growing freely in the wild all around where I was. It was just so interesting. I'd read about these plants in like the books that I grew up reading. And then I was able to, just pick them and start to work out like how they work. And it was just really, my interest just grew and grew and grew from there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really interesting. Specifically, like the first point, you studied pharmacy school in Australia. Like you went to pharmacy school in Australia, right? But then you moved to Italy and they didn't recognize it. So I'm assuming that like every country, like, did you ever find out like what exactly wouldn't work for them? Like in terms of like why they couldn't take your pharmacy education and make that work?
Yep, I did. I looked into all of that. So if I wanted to, it would be possible for me to become a pharmacist here without doing a whole pharmacy degree. But the main difference is that, or the main thing holding me back was that I've done like 4 years of theory, but I haven't done my 1 year of intern practical in Australia. So I'm not a full pharmacist in Australia. I've just done the 4 years of theory, and I haven't done the final intern year. And so if I had done that, I still wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have had to go back. Like the easiest way for me to be a pharmacist in Italy is to go back and do that year, and then come back here and do a couple more exams and stuff to prove that my education is the same. If I want to do it just from here, like, and because that was what we were trying to do, my husband and I, the aim was to kind of be in Italy and not in Australia. There's a lot more exams to do. But at the point where I was, where I'd done all the theory of pharmacy, and I was kind of frustrated with like what I was saying, that linear tree of decision making, and just like not the emphasis on the person. I was kind of happy to take a step back, and I was just writing a blog and babysitting, like teaching English to kids in Florence for I did that for 6 months, and I was honestly happy to do that because it was just giving me the space to think about other stuff and work out what I wanted to do. And that was what set me on a new path that I'm really glad that I did take, because now I would not like to work as a pharmacist at all.
Yeah. So tell me about that mental shift, right? So basically, you're writing this blog about pharmaceutical drugs. Your audience is the one asking you for natural, methods to achieve these goals. And you move into this area where you're surrounded by all of this medicinal plants, right? So what was the mental switch for you that was like, okay, yeah, I will never go back to pharmacy?
Yeah, because at that point I still wasn't sure, probably. Like the point was when I realized that I could make it work without being a pharmacist. Like, so it was probably a few years later when
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I make enough for our whole family to survive. We have a pretty low cost of living, okay? Like,
Yeah.
we live in a little tiny town and we mainly stay at home. We have a very frugal lifestyle. But the point is, I get to spend the majority of my day with my husband and my kids at home doing what I want. I have my little experiments. I have, like, I can do what I want. And like, I enjoy what I do now online, and helping people. Like, that's what I do. I get to learn about chemistry stuff. I get to play outside and I get to help people. Like, it's awesome. So like, I wouldn't want to have those restrictions of a full-time job where I have to go to a specific place and do that. Like, now I just have so much flexibility and I just get to play, but playing is my job. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful for me. So that, it was more like realizing, I can play for a living. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pharmacist anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And you found, I would assume the pharmacological background and education was really helpful into fully understanding and dissecting the herbs and explaining it to people from a different perspective, which I think is very valuable to folks. As majority of the people are used to pharmaceutical drugs and they trust that medical system. So to come from that aspect and embrace herbs and their natural healing abilities, I think is really helpful for the industry too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
quite
definitely
cool.
think so. And like, it is really important to think about the fact that, like, because from my perspective, pharmacy and herbs are not one or the other. Like, there
Mhm.
really is a place for both. And having that background, it does, like, I mean, first of all, the body, the stuff that I learned about the body is the same. So having that background, that base, is wonderful to work from. But
Mhm.
then beyond that, like, just understanding the interactions, why they interact. Like, I did a lot of study on, like, the enzymes and the different, like, kind of why the interactions happen. And so that just really helps to piece together like, why you can take something, or some things you can take even though they do interact. It just means the dose needs to be changed and things like that. But like, just having that background understanding is good. But yeah, just knowing that it's not bad one or the other. They can work together. Like, it's because it's not that I'm against pharmacy now. Like, I still think there's a place for both, but it's
Mhm.
just they can work together, and that's an important piece of the puzzle.
I see. Great. Thank you for clarifying that. So you have the next Herbal Entrepreneur Conference coming up in just a couple weeks. So what's your goal for the summit this year?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of goals. I love running the event, first of all. The reason I actually started the conference in the beginning was because yeah, like, my interest for herbalism was growing, and I wanted to start an herbal business, but I had the skills to put the conference together, because of that's what I had been doing as well online. I was working with putting together online conferences.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I did it, the first one, was because I wanted to start that herbal business, and I wanted to be able to learn from people who had already done it, so that I could make my own journey easier. And that
Hmm.
kind of, that theme still exists. So it's this year is actually in 2021, it's the third annual one.
Oh,
My first
wow.
one's 2019, then 2020, and yeah, this one here is the third one. And yeah, like, this year, my goals are to reach more people and really give that message that it's possible to that it is possible to put together your business and show how other people have done it. And so this year I've actually asked more people to speak on specific areas of running an herbal business. So we've got like people from all the different pathways. So I in the conference, I break it down into the 5 different pathways that people can follow, even though people can follow more than one pathway at once, or like a mixture of what they want to. But there's like people who grow herbs, people who make herbal formulations, people who sell herbs in a shop, and people who teach about herbs. So there's like workshops and things like that, and clinical herbalists. And so they're like practicing clinical herbalists. And so those like 5 areas, we've got speakers talking about each of those. And so the main goal is really to show people who want to follow one of these pathways or a few of these pathways how it can be done, and give them the tools to help them get there. And that's what like I'm really focusing on for this year's conference, is around making it as practical as possible. So like drawing out those parts that people do well and sharing how, like what the secret sauce is, how that actually comes about, so that other people can do it too. Because like coming together as the profession of herbalists is just so important if we want to grow as a whole community. And sharing what we're doing, and just having that community amongst us is so important. And that's what the goal of the conference is for me, is just to bring the community of herbalists together so that we can share our stories and all move up and have a greater impact together. That is really what I want to do with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And I just feel like, from my personal perspective as just, a citizen in America specifically, I've never been to Italy. I've never been to Australia, but I feel like our medical system, the first response is chemical drugs. And I just wish there was more of an infusion of this, like with an homage, like, pay homage to the fact that, the basis of Advil came from white willow bark. Like the herbs was the foundation of this, and they still work. And they don't have the side effects that these drugs have. And if our doctors and pharmacists had that knowledge as a whole, I just feel like the damage done to people would be so much less. The toxic load would be so much less. Like, that's why I just love your story about how you were talking about this thing and it was the audience that requested this information, which just shows that the consciousness level of people, globally is really shifting. We want to, we know their options. We want to learn all those options. And I really appreciate you for bringing this conference together, because it really showcases how people are bringing herbalism to the next level. Like I saw some entrepreneurs who are making it look very fun, very glam, and like, just like a lifestyle brand, but through herbs, which is really interesting to me, because the herbalist that I've been exposed to before it's not that way. So it's really cool to just see the kaleidoscope of herbal entrepreneurs through your conference. So thank you. So how can folks find you online? I know we'll have the link to the summit, right? You'll make that available.
Yeah, that's honestly what I would recommend going to. So just herbalentrepreneur.com. And yeah, seeing as we're going live at the moment, it should be like the conference should be the front and main center on the homepage at the moment, because that's like really the main thing that happens at this time of year. But if you're listening to the replay, there'll be something else you can opt in for on the homepage or whatever. There's always bits and pieces going on, but just herbalentrepreneur.com is where you would be wanting to go to opt in for the conference. And just how it works, if people are interested in attending, it's completely free to attend, and it's going to be running in the last week of March, Monday to Friday. And basically, you attend, and then you'll get emails each day with the links to attend the sessions. We're going to have over 20 herbalists speaking this year with different topics, like I said, the different pathways, and you can choose what you want to listen into. Like, it's free throughout the whole week to listen to the different sessions, and then there's an optional upgrade to the VIP pass if you want lifetime access. But honestly, like, just the free event is awesome in itself. So like, come along and experience it. We've got a community, and that's like fun to connect with other people and just see what's going on. So definitely sign up and see how it goes. But that's the best place, is herbalentrepreneur.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at herbal_entrepreneur. And yeah, that's basically it. But yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoy talking about this, and yeah, just love the opportunity to connect with other herbalists and people who want to start a plant-based business.